So what you see on the table in front of me is the inspirational book that I tend to go to fairly regularly when I'm looking for illustrative inspiration to bring my work to a different level when I kind of get stuck in a rut with mark making. This book is called Print&Patternnature, Bowie Style, and I will put the title in the description of this video. I wanted to share it though, as it is filled with so much beauty, so many different artists from around the world, their work, information about them, and the colors, the patterns, the feelings that this book evokes when you look at it. Sometimes at night when I'm just winding down after a busy day, I love opening a page. You can see a lot of my pages are flagged. I want to go back to them, whether it's for mark making ideas or color inspiration. We all learn by emulating, right? So I have pulled a lot of my mark making ideas and colors from this book, especially when I first started. And I just wanted to share it. Since I've been teaching these YouTube videos, I absolutely love it, number one. Number two, I started to teach because I felt like I was getting into a bit of a rut as an artist, and I was really tight with my mark making. I tend to do the same marks in my style over and over, and I do love them. They're great sellers in terms of when I create my art poetry paintings with the watercolor backgrounds and the illustrative work. People love them and I can sell them. But as an artist, you get bored, you need to constantly change it up, even if you're in a fairly good place. And I'm lucky that I have the lifestyle that I can do that. I can take some time away from marketing myself as an artist, selling my art, and just playing. I'm really enjoying teaching these videos. I just felt like I had this calling to do some teaching, and it's bringing something new to my practice. The other night, I had I'd chosen a few pages in this book, and I made this illustrative page in one of my very, very thin sketchbooks. So this one is a new one I had just purchased. Artist Loft, so Michael's in-house, very affordable sketchbook book. It's on recycled paper, and I love that. It is 60 pounds or 80 grams. And as you all know, I tend to do my watercolor art on anything over 140 pounds. If I'm just playing around and I'm doing swatches, I'm okay with 98-pound paper. But with illustrative work, when I'm using a pen and a pencil, and you can add some color here with crayons, felt pens, as long as it's not really wet. These pages are wonderful for this purpose. So the reason I'm sharing this is the other evening I just really felt like, I'm teaching my style, I'm teaching my mark making. I'm starting to see it in some of you that have been sharing your work and tagging me, and I'm so grateful for that. It's absolutely amazing to see the inspiration that has come out of everybody in their own interpretation. Some people have nailed it in terms of I see the work and I'm like, wow, that really does look like my work. It's really cool. But I wanted to almost find myself again and create some new mark making. And I went back to the first stage, which is grabbing, a book and just playing. So I really like this Studio Gel 0.5 millimeter pen. And this is what I was using to do my mark making. And this is a dollar store pen, and it's permanent ink. I think if you let it dry, you can go over top with slightly more wet felt pens and the ink won't move. So I love sketching with these pens, and I love sketching with this particular jelly roll pen. It has the color of a pencil, and I use this in a lot of my work when I want to have like a pencil-like effect. So, and this is quite dark. It's a really dark gray, and you can get some lighter ones, but this is a really great pen. Not all of them work great, but if you do luck out and get the Jelly Roll, Gell roll pen, they're another fun, a bit more of a costly splurge compared to, of course, the Dollarama's Studio Gel pen. But I'm not going to totally delve into supplies today because there's just so much else that I'd love to discuss that's so exciting. I just want to share with you my discoveries. So what I did is I went back to where I first started. I pulled some shapes. I'm really into butterflies right now, so I pulled some patterns, some designs that I liked from this book, and tried to kind of make them my own and really zero in on what I felt was inspired by the pages in here, but not directly copied, if that makes sense. So practicing the images and then feeling like, is this really my own? How can I make it feel more my own? And somehow, I don't know exactly how I found it, but I had put circles around things that I really started to like. So everything else on this page, it didn't totally feel like me. I want to create butterflies that feel more like me. And again, these are just rough sketches, but I zeroed in on what I loved. And I really, really loved these, what could be birds, butterflies. For those of you that know my work, I often put, this is a landscape that we had just finished. And this is an example of what I would consider like a bird or a butterfly. One here and one over here. But wouldn't it be cool if I could just slightly change it? So slowly change some of my mark making into things that I really love and just want to try on for size. And I thought these look so much like paper airplanes. I have a 5-year-old, and I don't know, it came to me. We talk a lot about vehicles and airplanes, but I thought, I love this mark that I keep doing. I do love triangular marks. I love the movement in these marks. I love polka dots. So if I was to kind of repeat this in the sky of some of my art poetry paintings, you know, that looks like it could be a bird on a branch. And I just feel like, you know, it's very, very abstract, right? But I can see the feet here, and I can see, you know, maybe a tiny little beak. You don't even need to do that when you love abstract work and you love painting abstract. So how did I find this? I don't know. I just create these kind of triangles, and I like energy in my work, so I move fast and whatever comes to me. And my former birds were more like this. And I am gonna try using these more triangular birds in my work. So I just wanted to share that. And I also wanted to share, you know, how I find inspiration. Obviously, this book is just full of inspiration, but there is inspiration everywhere. I mean, you go outside and you can find, you know, a leaf shape outside, and just sort of, without worrying about whether or not you can draw, doing the basic shape. And, you know, maybe you love the look of this particular one here, or maybe once you get the shape, putting in some dots or some dashes. You know, what is it about the leaves on this page that you love, and can you kind of emulate that in your own work? Do you like leaves that are more rounded? You know, in nature, there's all sorts of different shapes. Do you like, you know, them when they're overlapping? Do you like them when they're more jagged? So discovering what you like and putting it in a sketchbook, or, you know, grabbing an old book that you may not go back to and using pen over top, or using gesso over the pages and repurposing the book. I'm totally sidetracking because, again, I get excited. But I wanted to show you a discovery you may see in some of my work coming up, which is out of this whole page, you know, I probably spent a good hour just playing. Out of the whole page, I really liked this, and I loved adding the dots. I also love the leaf work with the dashes and the lines. I feel like I want to make that a little bit more my own than some of the artists that I was emulating. And you can see I was trying to play with dashes here, and I had a neon pen. I just had to add in neon. And that's when I thought, oh, these also look like little birds on trees. And I'm not that comfortable drawing a bird shape. So how cool is that it just kind of came out. And I did buy a travel sketchbook. So this is Strathmore Sketch. It's just for quick studies on the go. And I feel like this is awesome. I can just put my pen and the sketchbook in a bag, take it with me to the park, or, you know, whenever I'm out and about, maybe waiting for an appointment. And this is, again, thin paper. This is only 50 pounds. Say I created something I really loved on here. You know, if I'm going back to this page, maybe I love this part. I can cut it out. I can glue it onto my painting. I can collage it. I can paint over it. So many options. So I do love the idea of these little books for travel, which I've never used, but I think I'd like to start. So I'm going to put that in a place where I can see it. I also wanted to just update you all, those of you that have been following me. This is a draft of my Oracle deck. It has gone through so many edits. So you can see this was a proof that I got from a local printing company here in Calgary, Alberta, and I still have to cut around this, but it just gave me an idea of how the colors came out, the quality of this particular cardstock, what size do I want. So this is just something that I basically asked for before I put into print, you know, 500 or 1,000 decks. I still haven't decided what quantity I'm going to do. I am going to use this particular artwork as my box cover and the back of the card. I'm really excited about that. And if we go back to the sketchbook that I was just showing you, I'm just going to slide this over so you can see it a bit better. These are all sort of works in progress or finished pages of my sketchbook. But here is the painting that was painted in my sketchbook, and I chose this to be put into print, to reproduce it, to do a really high quality photo. I do all of my own photography, and I send it to printing companies and they help me color match, and I really love the way this has turned out. And you know, I think the reason that this painting was chosen by myself for the front of my deck, I mean, there's many reasons, but this was just in my journal. And to be honest, I got almost to the end of the painting and I didn't love it. But I had this happy accident where I was painting this while I was watching my son at his gymnastics class. And I'm not as good at painting in public. I just get a little bit more nervous. I don't have all the supplies I'd like. I'm really spoiled to be home and have so much accessible. So it was a challenge, but I painted this at his class, and I was at the point where I really was into adding these black branch marks. And I felt like when I added the other branch, I liked this one. When I added this one in, it was too much. I just didn't love it. So what I had done is, I'll show you, but in my process of resolving my work, it's almost like using whiteout if you've made an error when, you know, we used to do handwritten things. Oh, my little rescue dog's digging a hole in the couch. Sorry about the background noise. I used white liquid paint over top of this area that I felt was too dark. There was just too much of the branches. And then I took the back of my pen. These pens are great for etching into paint. Oakley, you're gonna be a guard dog. Okay, that got him to stop. So I used this to scrape the paint just before it was fully dry. And it brought through that blue watercolor that you can see down here. And I love it. It provides texture. It was a way of me loving this painting. And I chose this painting because when I look at it, I feel like it's very peaceful. It makes me very calm. I wrote the word quiet on here. It makes me feel like pausing in my day and appreciating the moments and slowing down. And this is very much what I need to remind myself in my life, because I'm a fairly high energy. I put a lot of emphasis on productivity, and I want to value my worth without being productive. I'm kind of sidetracking, but this painting I chose for the Oracle deck feature, as I just love it, and I love the shimmer. It's too bad I can't get all of those beautiful shimmers into the final product, but I'm really excited. I'm gonna go with a company that does gold foil on the edges of the cards. So I just wanted to share with you that this is the original I photographed, I put into print, and here is this draft. On the other side of the card, a lot of these didn't make the cut, but 2 of the ones that made the cut, actually 3, are these ones here. And I'm not sure where I was going with this, but basically there's a lot of variety in the style that's going into the Oracle deck. I love the cardstock. I've decided on 350 grams, and I just seeing it in print really helped me decide which paintings do I really love, what are the words I love. So the Oracle deck has changed so much since this proof, and I am at the point where I've hired an editor, and we are working together to get everything organized, and we're going to be hitting the print button pretty soon. So I'm very excited. I just wanted to share this with you. The other painting that I love is this one here, Remember Your Breath. In here, this copy, I had cut off the H. So really good reminder to get all of your work edited many times because I had to add in the H and sort of redo this particular piece. Breathe deeply. I love that. And I'm just really, really excited. So my deck is going to be a bit bigger than a deck of cards. It's going to be all of my own art. In Canva, the only thing I do is add the words, center it, size it. I've taken off this element, and I'm going to put a really nice light frame as though it's like a framed piece of art that you're holding as you're looking at the cards. I've decided on 71 cards, which is a lot. It's a fairly thick deck, but I'm so excited. So I just wanted to share this as an update with you all. And moving on, as I said, I'm full of inspiration. I had purchased this magazine. It's actually published where I live. It's like 5 blocks down from where I used to live here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So the publishing company it's close to my heart, close to my art, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. Uppercase. It's the 5th edition of their Surface Pattern Design Guide, and I want to do a video where I pull this color palette in and create my own art poetry paintings with you all by using this as a reference. What I had started to do, and it was quite a challenge for me, was pulling the palette into some supplies I have, mixing colors. This is where I've ended up. So I'm going to start with a very, very basic video and then move into more advanced. But I just thought I'd share with you sort of what I'm working on in the moment. I also wanted to share the same publishing company has made these incredible books. This one is called Botanica by Uppercase, and I take this book with me all the time when I take my son to the park, and I get so much inspiration. It makes me so excited. I just want to go home and paint. Just this page here is just beautiful to look at. There's a lot of artists' work in here, artists that I follow, that I've taken multiple courses from. It is really, really lovely and just a great book. I feel like one almost, if you can afford it, just a keeper book. It's hard to find these at the library at this point in time. They also have done one on art supplies. I really recommend this one if you're not sure what art supplies you want to invest in, if you haven't decided if you love watercolor, acrylic, and whatnot. You can just see in this book, I know a lot of these artists, and again, have taken courses from them. And I have learned about a lot of companies, whether or not they're vegan, if they use animal products, which is very important to me when I support different companies. Stone Ground Paint Co. is in here. I absolutely love their watercolors. They're a Canadian company. And you can really look at, there's a lot of artists that have done supply videos online, but this is, again, it's like a go-to Bible of art supplies right now, and also artist inspiration. So if you have the budget, this is a really great book as well. I just wanted to share that. And I thought we could do some painting today super quick, if we have time. if I have time, I did a fast watercolor background. This is just an example of sitting down, playing with colors, and doing a watercolor background and doing some etching with a water-soluble pencil crayon. And it's the same process that I had used when I had painted this one, which is now finished. And so this one has that watercolor background. I'll just see if I can zoom out a little bit, as this is such a long book, and I know some of you asked if I could show the whole finished piece. So I won't spend too much time on here, but you can pause it on your screen if there's anything you felt you missed in my other video, or if you wanted to emulate. But it was just, without thinking, I just put down colors and let them move around. And with watercolor, I find the less you move it yourself and the more you let it do its job with the water and the pigments, the better the end result. So I'm gonna do one here really quickly. And I'm just gonna use these handy little clips to hold down my page. And I also want to show you, you can see that I was very cautious to open my sketchbook to a place where if I love the landscape when I'm finished, I can pull the whole thing out and I may not have a painting on the back. So it's just a great way, instead of starting the book from front to back to front, you start where you see there's a clean, you're not going to be disrupting the page break. And today I was thinking about inspirational patterns and colors, and I saw my Kleenex box and I thought, hey, that is beautiful, and I would love to maybe sort of get some of these colors into my landscape watercolor background. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the camera slightly again so you can see my watercolors over here. And it's so tricky without losing resolution and painting so everybody can see. So you see my Kleenex box. I'm gonna put my ocean papers, the oceanpaper.com in Kauai. I've recently purchased this palette. It is now available on their website as the first watercolor palette. If you go there quickly, they sell out fast. This is my former palette, which I use all the time and love, but it's a bit mixed up, so I couldn't tell you actually the names or even what the palette is called. I got it so long ago. It really lasts a long time. Okay, so what I'll do is put the Kleenex box here so you can see it a little bit, and I'll just talk you through what I'm doing. And I always take a big spray bottle and I get my colors pretty wet and I just play. So I start with the darker color first. I'm gonna go with like a darker brown. I'm gonna dig into my new palette here, and I might use some gouache. I bought some awesome gouache at the Stone Ground Paint Co. Again, a Canadian company. And right now I'm just putting down this dark, not too dark, but this brown color. And I'm gonna go to this color here, and I'm looking for almost like a yellow ochre. I want a little bit more of, let's just see. Again, I don't know the name, just playing with colors similar to this. And it's a good way just to get used to my palette and the colors in here and what I love. And I'm going to pull in a bit more of a darker brown over here. I'm just gonna see if you guys can, bit of a darker brown. And I'm not overthinking where I'm putting the colors. I'm just using a lot of pigment and a lot of water. I'm gonna go back. I love darker darks, so getting that dark in there. And then the next color that I'd like to pull in is this beautiful pinky peach color. I may just add a little bit of dark up there for fun, and then clean my brush and spread it out. I don't typically use dark brown in the sky, but this is all about play, right? And I feel like I'm gonna do more of a peachy pink, which is my favorite. And I'm already veering away from this, and that's okay. I'm gonna bring back in the pink with this gouache by Stone Ground Paint Co. I just love that gorgeous pink. It's very opaque, and kind of just spreading it around. When you get a little bit too much water in here, and if your sketchbook's not really high quality, it can really pick up and seep through. So I'm just gonna use my paper towel. And I've put down quite a bit of pink. You can see that darker pink, I've pulled that in. And now I wanna move to, there's a bit of a lavender in here, which is interesting. I'll add a bit of that. I wanna add some of this blue color. And I often paint, how do you say, intuitive and what I feel in the moment. And this is good practice for me. I don't know if this is quite, it's a bit more of a brighter blue than I'd want. So I'm gonna add in some gray. Gray is a wonderful neutral. And I am going to add in almost, let's just see here. My new ocean paper palette has this gorgeous color. That's it. I love all the blending of the colors here. And I'm just gonna see, what do I feel like I'm missing? Sometimes, again, as the darks bleed out, I add them back in. I love dark in the middle. And you just want to have a range of lights, darks, opaques, transparents. That's why I like using gouache, because it's more of an opaque watercolor. It's more of an opaque paint, I should say. And you can use white in here. I do have a white gouache. I may lighten some areas up. So I get a lot of pigment on my round brush. And I use, this is a size 12 brush. I don't have a favorite brush. I just paint with whatever brand. I have lots of different brands. Everything from like cheap Crayola round brushes to, what is this? Maybe, this is Princeton. I believe Princeton uses animal, what do you call it? They use artificial synthetic bristles, and I like that. So there's no animal involvement in the process, like often there can be with art supplies. And just looking at this, the only thing I've kind of left out is that lavender color. So I'm seeing this lavender here, and I'm going to just, I suppose I didn't have to get water on my brush because it was white paint, but I'm gonna dip into this color here. This isn't one of my favorite colors to add to my work, so I'm just gonna hide a little bit, maybe down below here. And because purple and yellow are complementary colors, I could add just maybe a tiny bit there. So you go with, like, you know, if you use, say, the Kleenex box as an inspiration, what is your favorite must-have color in here? And what is a color that you just want not as much of? The only thing I feel like I might be missing is black and white and more neutrals, but that is where the beauty of mark making afterwards comes in, right? So just having the ability to completely change a palette by adding marks, right? So this didn't have any blacks until I added my illustrative work in over top. So that's pretty cool. And I see it's getting really wet in the middle here. I'm just gonna dab it. And I'm so excited. I really love everything about this. I love this light area with the turquoise. I love the pop of lavender and the beautiful pinks. And I feel like, you know, I can do my own mark making to get it, you know, so it doesn't really look like the pattern of the Kleenex box. But you can really see, if you put these side by side, that it was fairly close. with the color palette. So I'm really, really inspired now to go back to my sketchbook where I was doing mark making. Just see if I can find that here. And when you have lots of sketchbooks, you have lots to choose from, but I can just see, you know, some of the things I'll add in here. I'm going to add my paper airplanes, birds, butterflies, whatever you want to call them. Lately, I've been kind of feeling dragonflies. I might try and play with some dragonfly in my work, dragonflies. And again, one of my signatures that I put in my work was I had taught the little E shape with the dot over top. And I recently, I am very close with the Maritimes. My parents are from Nova Scotia. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but I spent a lot of my childhood summers right at the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. And I was doing this mark and it reminded me of little boats and looking out at the Atlantic Ocean and just sort of in the distance seeing, again, those triangles, whereas here in Calgary, I'm painting them as illustrative mountains, but I love the idea of pulling in my childhood love of boats and water, the ocean, Nova Scotia. So I might just add that in here and sort of change up my theme a bit in my work. I hope I've inspired you in some way. I think we have covered a lot. I definitely, I'm just gonna keep doing these videos and they'll get better every time. And I appreciate everybody's comments. I am overwhelmed by the number of comments and emails and DMs on my Instagram page. It is unbelievable. So I just wanted to thank you all because I am totally blown away with the support, and I just wanted to express my gratitude. And again, I started this channel because I thought if I could just help one or two people, and you know, it's funny talking about Nova Scotia. I have some relatives that are in Nova Scotia right now at a cottage that's about 200 years old. They can now access Wi-Fi, but they wanted to learn how to paint. And I said, well, I'll start doing some videos on YouTube and you can watch them if you want. And that was how this all started about, well, it was last month. I've only been on YouTube for a month and here I am I am shocked at having over 5,000 followers. And anyway, so this is huge learning. So be patient if I don't get back to you right away. And thank you so much. I appreciate you all.